I've lost over 6-figure commissions the day before closings, but I was doing, 10, 15 million a year in Houston.
A couple people that want to start their business and they want to be like you, a successful broker, to communicate the way that you are. What was some of the tips you can give them?
It's important for people when they're starting out, find a brokerage that is going to train you and that teaches you how to market yourself, possibly get on a team so that you can start learning. Find someone that is really successful that you want to be like.
What do you say to the girls out there that are not confident about the way they look?
It's not all about the way you look. It's about...
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in for another great episode of Tom Talk Success, where we bring you a lot of different individuals, big successful people, real estate investors, business owners. And today I have a pleasure to introduce Alexis. Thank you so much for coming on. So are you a big believer that people needs to move to a place where they're getting more energy in a way and they're feeling more happy? And do you think it has a better exposure to get more money and, to increase your business?
Absolutely. I mean, I felt when I was in Houston like I was in my own Groundhog Day, just going through the motions and not really living life. And, a lot of people come to Miami because it has you have that energy here and you have a lot of successful people and you have a lot of people doing big things in all different types of industry. And you have a lot of really young people making crazy amounts of money and everybody sort of feeds off each other. At the same time, you have to be careful because in cities like that also comes a lot of people with not good intentions, et cetera, et cetera. So it definitely is a great place. You just have to be very intentional and, get good people in your life, surround yourself with positive people that are doing big things. And obviously you are who you surround yourself with.
Correct.
So.
I'm a big believer in that. I think it's truly about your surrounding. Can you talk to us about your surrounding in Houston when you started to hear, was it the big change in your life too?
Oh, very big change. I mean, nothing wrong with Houston. I have some of the most amazing friends in Houston, my family. It's just a completely different city. You can't ever really compare the two. But I would say even probably when I started real estate in Houston in 2014, Miami was not the way that Miami then is not the way Miami is now. So, it worked for me in Houston at the time. And, I grew my business over years and I do kind of see why it was later that I moved to Miami and how it all worked out because, things all kind of happened for a reason with timing. And, it was a good place to start. Do I wish maybe I'd started in Miami and I would be making probably millions now? Kind of, but obviously we all do the things and things happen because they're supposed to and it's all in the timing,
So I want to ask you something more kind of deep. When you started your career, were you always have that confidence that you have now and, talking to people and introducing yourself, or it's something you kind of developed over the years?
I would say by the time I started real estate, I was very comfortable with that. One of the main reasons I got into real estate was that I did have a large network. I was always a very social person. I do like talking to people. And, the jobs that I was doing before really didn't utilize my network. So, of course you get better over the years at these things. Luckily, I was a communications major and I like speaking in front of people. And I remember when it was hard for me, but, as you practice and, whatever job you do, whatever you do in life, it gets better and better. But I would say I'm naturally a little bit better, talking to people and with communication skills. And I've just, over the years, obviously tightened those up and, it's got better and better as the years went on.
Wow,
yeah.
That's amazing. So can you talk to, let's say there is a couple people that want to start their business. Doesn't matter, man, woman, and they want to be like you, successful broker, to communicate the way that you are. What was some of the tips you can give them if they're shy, not confident about themselves? What would you tell them?
Practice, practice, practice. I mean, start with social media and talking to an audience that obviously is there, but not really isn't really there. I mean, get in front of your own camera and start making videos. And, get a mentor. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. I didn't have one, but that's something that I wish I had. Get a mentor, get someone who does something, you like the way they do it, and start, getting mentored by them. I mean, a lot of people have coaching programs, et cetera, but I think it's really good to find that mentor and have them kind of help you, and it just will take time to getting used to talking to people, but it's all about practice. Make it a goal to talk to 5 new people a day, or something like that, and keep increasing that goal as you get more comfortable. You have to get out of your comfort zone, and you're not going to do it by just sitting around and watching.
That's it. That's pretty interesting. I like what you just said, like get the confidence, but also practice throughout your way. So I want you to talk to, let's talk about the girls that, right, that's starting their career. Maybe they want to be a realtor as well and possibly to a broker. But, they want to create a brand for themselves. They want to start talking about themselves in social media. But they're just feeling like, oh, wow, what's my parents going to talk about me? What's my friends going to talk about me? Like just dealing with those stuff. Like how you were able to overcome that when you started your career?
I had already built my social media platform prior to getting into real estate through fitness, which was a hobby that I really loved. So it was all about transitioning myself out of that fitness, because that wasn't my career, but I did it for fun, and it helped me build my social media platform, transitioning it to real estate. Obviously I did this in 2014, but you just have to believe in yourself and have the confidence in yourself. And if people aren't going to support you, then you can't listen to them. Keep the people around you that support you. Your friends and family should support you. Obviously you can't choose your family, but if your friends are not supporting you or backing you, you have the wrong friends.
So that's some great insights that you kind of give. I want to ask you, what do you say to the girls out there that are not confident about the way they look? Because I want you to kind of dive deep to that, because I know there's a lot of girls that have a lot of potential, but they kind of, just give up on it just because they're not confident about the way they look.
It's not all about the way you look. It's about providing value to your audience. It's the way you look obviously can help, because you want to be confident in yourself. So, whatever it takes to make you confident in yourself may not be something exterior, but you have to be confident in yourself. When you're confident in yourself and you exude it, you exude confidence. And it doesn't matter the way you look. Be knowledgeable in the information that you're trying, in whatever you're doing. You have to be knowledgeable and provide value. When it comes to that, it doesn't matter completely what you look like. If you're providing value and people like to listen to you because you're funny, you provide value, whatnot, then that's really what matters. Looks will only get you so far. There's a lot of everyone, there's so many good-looking people out there. It's a dime a dozen. You can alter your looks. You can get surgery. You can just do this. You can do that. But ultimately, what else makes you stand out? Not just your looks isn't going to get you anywhere if you want to be in a respected career where there's so much else that matters than the way that you look.
That's a great answer, by the way. I love it.
Thanks.
I want to ask you another question that kind of, in addition to what I asked you. So let's say there's girls that look good and they want to get to the point where they're successful just like you are, but they don't see themselves getting there. They, dealing with emotions, they, not 100% sure about them. What would you tell them? What is the best way to start if you're kind of lost?
I guess I've always sort of had direction. That's just the way that I was raised, and my innate. I was a gymnast for 10 years, so I have discipline, and you have to create a business plan or write down your goals, and if it's a confidence thing, you can't just get confidence overnight, right? So that's something that comes, but if it might not be right for you. Not everyone has to be out in front of the camera, out in front of social media. I'm going to be honest that I think that a lot of people get their real estate license because they think they're just going to walk into big money. And I'm here to tell you that is not the case. And it's becoming more and more the truth as time goes on and the rules change within the real estate industry. Instagram has glamorized real estate. I was in real estate before before real estate was glamorized by Instagram and Netflix and all these different shows. That is not reality. What you're seeing is not reality. The people that you're seeing on Instagram, with all these big houses, I'm probably 85% of them, they didn't sell that house, right? Obviously, it's all about perception, and it's kind of hard to know who really is making sales here and there, unless they're putting stuff that's, they're putting like on their Instagram that it's sold. So it's like, it's become this whole funny thing just because of all the shows and because of Instagram, and it might not be what a lot of you think it is. The reality behind it, First
of all, I agree. I think there's a lot of people that really think that that's the reality, and they're getting to the field and they were like, wow, it's not pretty much even close to it.
Yeah.
But there are some people out there that look at those stuff, the shows, the Selling Sunset, all those stuff as a dream, right? Like they might see it as like, wow, one day maybe I can be like, the realtors over there. Do you think it's achievable at this point, or
I think,
how do you look at it?
I think a lot of those shows, they're scripted. It's not reality. When it comes down to it, learning the market, learning how to do real estate, you learn as you go. Getting a real estate license is super easy. You can do it online. It doesn't really teach you anything. And these people come in and they think they're just going to sell homes. Well, what do you bring to the table? You're helping somebody with the potentially largest purchase or sale of their life, largest investment of their life. What is going to make them trust you? Not just because you look good, not because you're on social media. Like, you truly have to know your stuff. You have to work your way up. I've been in real estate for over 10 years. And the first 5 years were, I wanted to quit so many times. And there's some statistics about, as far as real estate goes, 80% of people fail within the first 5 years. And it's, people have to realize that this is still the case. There's probably even a lower percentage now, because it's very saturated and there's a lot of competition. And, you have to, how are you setting yourself apart from these other hundreds of thousands of people across the US, or whatever, 50,000 people in your own city? And especially now with being, up with the transparency of buyer commission, it's always been negotiable, but now you have to show your value. Like, why, if a seller wasn't paying, why would a buyer pay you that amount? Somebody that just comes into real estate, doesn't know anything, is trying to do social media, what kind of value do they bring to the table? Nothing. So it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Yes, people get lucky, but for the most part, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes continual, you have to be self-driven. Nobody's forcing you to come to the office unless you're on a team. I think another way to build and learn is to be on a team, but even then you have to be careful. So it's just, and the industry has changed so much over the last 10 years. So
what would you say is some of the tips that helped you in your challenges throughout the way? You mentioned you wanted to quit sometimes, and over the years, I'm sure you had some hard times.
Man, it's resilience, discipline, perseverance. You have to have a thick skin in this business. I've lost large commissions that weren't actually my commission, right? But, something fell out a couple days before closing. I've lost over 6-figure commissions the day before closings. And these things aren't motivating to me. These things actually make me want to quit, right? Everyone says when you're down, you get motivated. I actually get more motivated when I'm selling more, because it just hurts a lot. And, even 10 years into the business, obviously I changed markets, but regardless, it's a current grind. You're currently, it's a constant grind. It's a constant trying to learn things that set yourself apart. It's a constant lead generation. It's just constant work, right? And, luckily I've worked into a high price point that I hope to go even higher, and do less transactions throughout the year and live my life a little bit more. And it's what I've put the last 10 years of my life into. And, I really try to work smart and, really starting to do these bigger deals so that I'm not doing as many transactions and I'm getting into that, those people's, phones and in front of them and stuff. So
I want to ask you how you were able to level up over the years. You mentioned, you kind of been in the business for 10 years. How were you able to go from this clientele to this clientele and kind of keep going up?
I think it was, because some people are born into, families or marry into, people that are of a high level. And like, I really had to work my way up with everything. And like I said, I started in Houston, and the price points are obviously a lot different. And it took me a really long time to get into that luxury $5 million price point in Houston, which is like your top, I just sold maybe 3 years ago.
Wow.
But I was doing, 10, 15 million a year in Houston, but obviously I was doing a lot of transactions to get there. And it was just an over time, like being consistent, staying with those clients. I mean, you can, have clients that I helped in 2014, and then in 5 years or 4 years, they might sell their house, move into something bigger. So it's just consistency, keeping up with your clientele, staying in front of them, and, just putting yourself, I've always kind of like surrounded myself with high level people, and just continuing to network within there, and just the natural progression of growing. And now later in the last 4 years, it's like those are all the people that are in my life, and the people that I network with, and the people that I meet, and the travel destinations that I go. And so I just continue to try to work higher and higher into that the type of client to just keep going. And you can't just, obviously some people go right to the really high, but not a lot of people. I mean, you have to work your way there. You have to put your time in. You have to pay your dues. I mean, there's just no other way. I mean, you have that, like I said, person that gets lucky, but if you don't pay your dues, you don't put the work in, you're not going to get there.
What do you think are some of the stuff that helped you to put yourself kind of in front of other realtors in a way? Like, what are some tips you'll give to other women out there that looking to scale their career?
I would say, one of the things, like I said before, like you got to bring value. Figure out what you can do that others are not doing, and do more of it. And, I was really involved in social media for a long time, back when Reels came out. And I would say I got kind of burnt out, and that's something that I'm going to start doing again. It got me a lot of business, and I was consistent and persistent with it. And luckily, at that time, nobody was doing it. And I wish I had continued, because now everyone's doing it. But I feel like I can jump back in. But I was doing it when nobody was doing it, trying to learn it on my own. And like I said, I did get burnt out. But that did build my social media platform a lot in Houston. And, coming to Miami, I had to regrow, because, you can see like where your followers come from.
Yeah.
And it's like, obviously I have a large majority in Houston, but like Miami, New York is growing. And it's just going to take time. But yeah, you just have to stay consistent and, like I said, provide value and do things that others aren't doing. Find your niche. Find your audience.
How do you manage your life? You're super busy, I would assume, during the day-to-day. How do you manage your life with, going out, traveling? What was some of the advice there?
So I'm a very social person. Also, I'm very active, fit person. I love doing yoga, Pilates, going to the gym, working out. I mean, I was a gymnast for 10 years. I got my IFBB Pro card in 2012, kind of for fun as a hobby. And I just like to stay fit. And I also am a social butterfly. I like to be with my friends. And I don't know how I do it. I think I always burn for some reason I have like this crazy energy that I've always had. I think I'm almost like a little ADD. I can talk really fast or talk a lot or be really, really energetic. And then I'll just like crash and burn. But yeah, I get business through being social as well. I don't make it the focus, but I like to, try to come up with a new contact, everything that I do. As far as traveling goes, I've always traveled. In Houston, it was a lot. It took me a while before I was able to leave, because obviously I ran my own business. And now I'm balanced, because, I have my business and my clients. Yeah, sometimes you miss out if you're not there, but I try to plan it accordingly so that I can leave. I left this summer, and I made a lot of contacts in Europe. And I'm probably more than I would have made being here in Miami, because a lot of people that are wealthy, they leave town, whether it be Europe or the Hamptons or whatnot. And so I found myself benefiting from leaving rather than being here.
Do you believe like going out and traveling, I guess I want to ask you a different question.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, when you're traveling and you're going out, how you're able to still kind of make it fun, but also at the same time, see the opportunity?
I'm really just going out with the intention to have fun. Like I said, I'm a very social person. I like to go out and do things, but also I make sure to pick things that I enjoy. And then if I meet people, along the way, then that's good. The more people I know, the more my network grows. I'm not like thinking about business, but obviously it's in the back of my mind. And opportunities arise when you're talking to people, and I never make it the focus because it's not. I'm trying to live my life and enjoy it. And but I would say, like, while traveling, like, you never know, like, who you're talking to. So, be nice to people and talk to people around you. And you never know. I meet people on planes that have become clients and in airports and stuff like that. So, it's
Interesting.
Yeah. But then when I'm there, I want to have fun. And people know that I'm in real estate. So if, like, someone mentions it over here, they're like, oh, Alexis. And, you connect, you talk for a second about it. And then you're like, you make the connection, and then you have fun, and then you talk about it later. So, like, I've met some of my clients at 4 a.m. in Vegas, or not met, but like run into, and like it re-sparked, Vegas, or like even out here. It's like one quick conversation, and then we connect at another time. So
how do you keep, so I got this question a lot, and people kind of want to know the answer to it. So as a lady, I want to ask you, how do you keep yourself kind of personal in terms of, working with men out there, and, like, how do you keep it separate? Like, your life and the business life. I'm sure there's a lot of
I don't really
women
date my clients. There's obviously been situations where after closing, like, maybe we got along and went on a date type of thing, but I know how to sniff that out. I mean, obviously, being attractive can get you in front of more men, but I'm really good at getting them to respect me because I know what I'm doing, especially in Miami. I mean, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. I know how to bring value. I'm experienced in this business. I'm good at what I do. And if I'm easy on the eyes too, cool. But if somebody tries to cross the line, that's not okay with me. And I don't need the business that bad.
So that's a good answer. So
yeah, I mean, I would say that I don't want to be like the people, realtors, whatnot, have a reputation out here in Miami, and I never want to be that person. And I've been out or doing stuff on a boat, whatnot, and having conversations with people, and they're like, wow, you really know what you're talking about. It's just the way I talk about it. I've been doing it so long. Obviously, like, it's just the way that I am. And I really am able to get respect from people. And they like being around me. They will like being around me. They like looking at me, but I know what I'm doing, and I bring them value.
So you're saying, and essentially, like, the knowledge is the most important, one of the
I would
most
say
important
knowledge,
parts.
but of so many things. Like, it's not just it's knowledge of Miami. It's knowledge of properties. It's knowledge of how to invest. It's knowledge of numbers. There's knowledge of, because I've done so many different facets of real estate, that over the years I've gotten the knowledge. And I think the more you know, the better. And then it starts to come natural. You know what I mean? And we all face that problem, but like I said, you have to get these men to respect you.
Yeah.
And I've never really had much of a problem with that.
I'd love to hear that. So looking back at your career, right, the last 10 years, what were some stuff you would do differently if you're looking back?
I'm like very unorganized. Very unorganized, really bad at keeping calendar. I'm going to be honest. Really bad at keeping my database. It's one of the most important things. I wasn't taught. That's something you have to do from the beginning. Like, I don't do mailers. I don't email my base. Like, there's so many things I don't do that I need to implement, and I still 10 years later need to implement. But it's like, I get lazy because what I do works for me. But then it's like, it could be that much more. But also I struggle with this, like, trying to live my life, and like, I don't need to be number one. I just want to make a good living, and and make a lot of money, because money is freedom, and then I can live and do what I want and invest my money and not have to be busting my ass day to day. And that's one of the big reasons that I came to Miami, and that's what I plan to do, and that's what I'm doing now. If I want to go to the beach in the middle of the week, I can. If I want to go leave town for a week or two, I can. And that's what I want to continue to work towards. I'm trying to, I do it, I enjoy it and I'm knowledgeable in it, but I do it for freedom.
I want to ask you something. So, because I kind of like the ideas that you bring in, and I'm sure the audience can relate to what you're saying. But I want to ask you, so me as a man, I have such a respect for, women that, want to get successful and want to achieve everything. Like, to me, I just hate to seeing somebody that will say, oh, I just want to marry like a rich man or something like that. What would you tell those ladies there that look at you and be like, oh, wow, she's successful, but you kind of want it more than just the normal lady out there?
I just think it was the way I was raised, and I've always had to fend for myself. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I like a provider man too. And I want someone that is light years ahead of me because I want to learn from them and I want to 10x them and I want them to help me. But while I'm supporting myself and doing it on my own, making sure I'm set for if anything happens and somebody screws me over or whatnot. I want a husband. I want all those things. In the meantime, while looking for that, I want to make sure that I'm good on my own, and I don't need a man, right? But I want a man, but I don't need a man, and that helps you, make better choices with men and know that you're going to be okay and you're not going to settle.
Because I feel like there's so many women out there that will say the absolutely opposite. I love what you just said, that you want it, but you don't need, you don't want to rely on it. And I'm sure there's a lot of women out there that will just, that's their dream, just to rely on somebody, to find somebody like that. So you're saying, do it because you want it, but not need it. I like this point. If you look back at your career at the beginning, like the first couple of years, would you done something a lot different in terms of networking, building your career?
So I think, because real estate's evolved so much over the last 10 years and with, social media and Instagram and all that stuff, I probably would have researched more. I probably would have started with a different broker. I probably would have started with doing a database right away. I would have really interviewed brokerages before I started. But, it is what it is, right? But I think it's important for people when they're starting out, find a brokerage that is going to train you and that teaches you how to market yourself, possibly get on a team so that you can start learning. Find someone that is really successful that you want to be like and ask them if they can mentor you or you can shadow them, or if they have too much work, what you can do. I mean, there's just so many things. I just kind of threw myself into it because I came from corporate America, kind of all over the place. And luckily I did well my first year. But it's like it's like a struggle, in the first, 3 years. But there's a lot more information out there now and a lot more direction. But also it's even a lot more saturated nowadays, and it's changed a lot. And you have to be, back then you weren't really doing videos as much. I started doing videos early on, like video tours, but now it's all about videos and providing knowledge to people and providing your value. So.
What would you say your biggest mistake as of today? Like something you kind of regret?
I would just say, if you choose to partner with someone, choose wisely. And don't just jump into business with people. Really think about it and investigate them. I've had a few different partners, and one of them was not a good choice, and it was something I jumped into. And I think be really careful who you get into business with, who you partner with, who you maybe open a team with, and make sure you really evaluate if you're on the same page before doing that. That was a really big mistake for me. However, I learned from it, and it didn't devastate my business. It just was a lot of stress and a lot of unneeded pain.
What would you tell to yourself looking back at that situation? I mean, looks like there was some bad partnership there, but looking back at it, how would you, let's say if you were to find a new partner, What would you do differently?
Do more due diligence on the person. Really find out if your goals are aligned, the way that you run your business is aligned, the way that you run your team is aligned, and just really make sure that you do due diligence on the person.
What does success means to you? I mean, we are in the Tom Talk success business, talking about leveling up, getting better, 10x. What does success means to you?
I mean, I think it's obviously different for every person, right? So for me,
Agree.
it's, making a lot of money by helping people, because that's what you do in real estate, and enjoying it while you do it, and creating freedom and so that you can live your financial freedom or whatnot, so that you can enjoy your life, because life is short and unexpected, and tomorrow's not promised. And you don't want to just work, right? You want to work so that you can live your life and enjoy your life, and enjoy your life with other people, and see things and explore the world, and for me, those are all the things that I want to do. So success is, being able to eventually have passive income and being able to just enjoy, traveling the world and, enjoying it with other people.
Love it. What do you think, what is kind of next for you, I will say, in the next couple of years?
I mean, so it's my little over my second full year in Miami. Last year was very difficult trying to go back and forth between Houston and Miami. I really want to focus on Miami now moving forward, and just get into that super high price point. So I only have to do, a couple of deals, and like I said, invest in multiple different facets, including real estate, so that my money is working for me and I can enjoy my life and travel. I mean, I want a partner, and I'm ready for that. I want a family.
Nice.
So all of those things I want, and I know Miami is a tough market, but I think if you're intentional, you can make it work, and you meet people from all over the world here. So, just keeping on, living my life, creating freedom for myself.
And last question, what would be the biggest gift you could give to the audience if you would choose to something you want to kind of share on?
Anything. It's really important to believe in yourself, and don't give up just when the going gets tough. Especially if you want to be an entrepreneur and in business, you have to have thick skin, and your downfalls and the things that hurt you, that bring you down, you just have to, it's all about how you persevere through it and build yourself back up, because everything's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. But if you keep going and you're consistent, and you don't let those things completely stop you, eventually it's going to be an upward journey. And there's always setbacks, but it's all about how you get through the setbacks, and you got to keep going no matter what. And that way,
I love it.
Your possibilities are infinite. So
love it.
Yeah.
How the audience can find you?
I am on Instagram, the Alexis Paige. That's THE, because people always think I say V.
Yeah.
THE, Alexis, ALEXIS.
And I'll take you also on the
Paige,
YouTube.
PAIGE. I'm on TikTok, but I'm not active. I'm going to start being more active, but I don't need to give that right now, because there's links on the Instagram to everything. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram, connect with me, and
Alexis,
this was fun.
Thank you so much for coming on. It was a true pleasure, and I hope the best for you.
Thank
and
you.
we'll see you on the next episode.
Perfect.